Hey guys, my name is Marta, welcome to my channel, and please don't mind the 3-year time difference between my last video and this one. I've decided that I wanted to come back to booktube, and I thought why not do so without any previous notice. Anyway, if you want me to do a live update video, I would happily do that, but I wanted to film this little short video about 4 books that I would love to reread before the year's over. I have chosen 4 books because as there are only 4 months left of the year, I thought it would be easier for me to read them if I limit myself to 1 book per month, because I get to get very ambitious with TBRs whenever I do them and I never stick to them. So I thought that 1 book per month should be good for me to actually complete these rereads. But without further ado, let's start with the first book I plan to reread, which I hope I can get to either later this month or in September, and it is Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar. This is Sylvia Plath's only novel. She gets this internship to work for a magazine in New York. Once she gets there, she starts to realize that that place might not be her dream job that she thought, as she begins to struggle with her mental health in this world of glamour that she is now a part of. This is a book about depression in which we see the main character really struggle. It's a very hard read at some moments, I remember. I would really love to reread The Bell Jar because I remember that I related a lot to it at the moment in time that I read it. I was, I think, roughly the same age as Esther when I read it for the first time. I'm not quite sure, but I just remember finding it very relatable, and I just saw that I underlined a few lines. So it should be interesting to see how I feel about this book now that a few years have passed, if I still relate to it a lot. If I don't, I guess we'll see. This is also the book with the fig tree metaphor that everyone knows and everyone loves. It's a very famous metaphor that I find very relatable, as do many people, so excited to revisit it. I might do a reading blog. I might actually do a reading blog for all of these. It depends on how my booktube journey goes. The second book I would love to reread is another one that is very popular and very well loved. Actually, all of these books are very well loved, and that's why I also love them. But anyway, this one is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is the very famous Victorian decadent book about this very beautiful man who gets this painting of him painted, and he is able to do all these morally wrong things because he's going to remain beautiful, as all his evilness will get depicted in the picture. This is a very short, late Victorian Gothic text, very gorgeously written, very morally grey, very gay, and also very well loved by everyone. I read The Picture of Dorian Gray way too long ago. I think I was like 17 and I read it translated to Spanish. So this is going to be one of my first encounters with Oscar Wilde in English, but not a story per se. So I am very excited to reread The Picture of Dorian Gray in its original language. I'm pretty sure I'm going to love it. I put off rereading it because I also wanted to read the French books that inspire it, but I was always too lazy to do so. So I might do that and film a video with all of that. But if I don't, I will just reread this. I plan on rereading it for October, but we'll see. The next book I would love to reread is another Gothic classic. This one is a modern classic, and it is Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca. This is one of the most well-known and well-loved Gothic texts from the 20th century. It is a spiritual successor to Jane Eyre, which is my all-time favorite classic and my all-time favorite book in general. In it we follow an unnamed narrator who marries Mr. De Winter without knowing much about him, and then she moves in with him to this gothic mansion that is haunted by the presence of this man's ex-wife, Rebecca. This is a sort of psychological horror gothic story that I remember being very beautifully written and that I remember being very drawn into when I first read it. I read it in 2020, 6 years ago. That's insane to believe, and I've always considered it one of my all-time favorite books, but I haven't reread it. So I think it's about time. It's been 6 years. I actually don't remember that much about it, so I'm excited to see if I get any surprises because, as I just said, I don't remember much. I just remember loving it and being absolutely obsessed with the atmosphere, as I always am when I read a gothic text. And the last book I would love to reread is one I wanted to reread last year, but I didn't have the time to do so, and it is Louisa May Alcott's Little Women. This is the Christmas classic, and some people may argue that that's a place for A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, but I think Little Women is more Christmassy. Maybe it's because I'm not the biggest fan of A Christmas Carol, but that's a story for another time. I wanted to reread Little Women last year, but I didn't have the time to do so. I also really want to buy another copy because I love Pan Macmillan's little books, but I feel like they are too fragile for long texts, so I might just get the Average Penguin to reread the book from. I, again, like The Picture of Dorian Gray, I read this book almost 10 years ago. I think when I was 17 or 16 or something like that. I just realized I never said the synopsis of the book, but we follow the March sisters just growing up in America during the Civil War and being raised by her mother. I know that's a very brief synopsis, but it's a classic, everyone knows of it. If you don't, just Google it. And I remember being absolutely obsessed with this book when I first read it. I remember relating a lot to Jo, the sister that we follow the closest, and I am very excited to see how I feel about it now, because I am a complete different person than I was when I was 16, 17, or whatever age I was when I first read it. I also think this was one of the first books I ever read in English. First classics, by the way, not books in general. So yeah, excited to revisit it. Very intrigued about how I feel about it this second time I read it. I think I'm going to still love it, by the way. I feel like it's going to be one of those books that you reread and feel very nostalgic for the time you first read it. So that is all. Those are the 4 books I would love to reread before the year's over. Again, as I said, I would love to ideally do a reading blog for each of these, but that depends on how my journey trying to come back to booktube goes. If you've read any of these books and loved them as much as I do, or think I do, I did at least the first time I read them, tell me down below. Also tell me if you have recently reread a book that you read a long time ago and how your experience went. And I hope you're having a nice day, and I hope I get to see you again very soon with another video, probably a book review, but we'll see.